And there's a quote, and it's from Frank Herbert's Dune, and it's, "Fear is the mind killer." I thought I should provide some context for the video that you're about to watch. It was filmed in the foothills of the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho a little over a year ago, and it was a 3-day backpacking trip that I took solo by myself with the intention to catch some amazing trout in the middle of nowhere, about 30 miles up a dirt road from the nearest town. This video segment in specific was meant to be a new series that I had been toying around with in my head for about a year at this point. The idea was to call it Campfire Chats and have it be to where I took people that had never been camping or backpacking before, and I brought them with me. And at the end of the day, we sat by the campfire and I just recorded our conversation. Because I think that conversations, like genuine ones, aren't truly being had as often anymore. And a lot of people are looking over the little things in life and experiencing everything through a screen or through a lens instead of getting out there and doing it themselves. So I wanted to bring real conversation back to the table and real experience back to the table. I also decided that these campfire chats, when I was by myself, camping or backpacking, that I would film a solo one. Now, this video ended up being a little bit more personal than I thought it was going to be, but after a year I decided that, hey, I'm going to upload it. I'm starting to upload consistently again, so why not put this out there? Not everything that you film is going to be perfect, but I think that there's something that could be learned from this video, and I hope that you enjoy it. I do kind of get into the nitty-gritty of some emotions and feelings, but there's nothing wrong with that. So this is what I hope to be episode 1 of Campfire Chats. The purpose of this is to actually communicate with each other again. I want to see people sitting around a campfire in the middle of the nowhere, in the wilderness, chatting and having a genuine conversation again. And I want to share stories with friends, and I also want to, when I'm by myself, sit and share stories with you guys. And I think that's super important to have that human connection again. Now for me, the spot that I'm in currently, I have a little bit of trauma associated with it, I think. So 2 years ago, I was camped in this same exact spot right about this same time of year, and I was fishing just like this by myself, and I'd planned to go up the same exact creek in the morning. And I was woken up at about I want to say about 2 a.m. And I was woken up and I had this immense gut feeling that something was wrong, and I had to get out of here. And that's probably why I'm staying in my vehicle tonight, because I have that fear a little bit and that trauma associated with it. But I always listen to my gut no matter what. But I woke up at 2 a.m. and I just knew I had to get out of here, and I threw all my stuff in my truck at the time, the bed of my truck, and it back into the back seat in 5 minutes, and I got the hell out of here. I drove the whole 24-mile stretch back down the dirt road at night, which was pretty cool, but it's interesting at the same time. You don't really see much. But I ended up getting home and back to my apartment, and the person I was with at the time, I had been with for 3 years, and she didn't expect me to be home until late Sunday night, and I was supposed to come up here on a Friday and then be gone for 2 days. Didn't really question anything when I got into bed. She's kind of oh, you're back kind of deal. But in the morning, when I woke up probably about 8 a.m. and this same exact area that I'd been in, I'd planned to get up at about 5 a.m. and pack up that creek. So that way I was fishing at first light. And when I woke up, I looked up it was raining. It was raining actually in Boise. And I looked up the weather for up here, because I know it's a little bit different. And I found out that I would have been probably about 4 miles up Schitt's Creek in snow. I'm gonna cut it again here. I didn't say how much snow, I forgot to say that in the video, but when I looked it up based on the topographical maps and other things, where I was up in the Sawtooth, it got over a foot of snow. So if I had actually woken up at like 4 or 5 a.m. and started hiking up that creek, I literally would have been up that creek when the snow started, and then I would have had to hike back down to my vehicle through the snow and then drive a basically single track dirt road through the mountains for 30 miles before I even got to a paved road, and that wouldn't really be doable up there. It's kind of impassable when it snows. And if you are from Idaho or have been to Idaho and been around some of the dirt roads up into the national forest and in public lands in the winter, you'll kind of understand what I mean. You need a snowmobile to get through. So my gut told me to leave, first off, and I knew something was wrong. And the first thing that was wrong was that there was snow up here. And then the second thing that was wrong I didn't find out about until later that day, once I was back. But the person I was with for 3 years and actually engaged to decided that they didn't want to be with me anymore. And that kind of wrecked me a little bit to a degree. I was in college at the time, and I wasn't able to work the same way that I was, and I wasn't able to provide like the way that I was kind of used to. I give my all to whoever I'm around or whoever I'm with. I always joke that I don't care that much about myself, I care about others. But that kind of messed with me for a long time. I think that's why for the first trip of the year, and the first trip I've been able to take, really since about that one, I haven't taken a solo trip since then. But I think that's why I wanted this to be the first place I went in general, because I wanted to complete the trip that I originally set out for that time. Like I said, that was 2 years ago now. I wanted to complete that trip. So I'm back here now and kind of facing that internal fear that something will go wrong, but I know it won't. I know that those slight inklings that I get are just my mind telling me that it will. I am going to cut in, and I'm going to interrupt here. I did say I was having a gut feeling, and that's why I was staying in my vehicle that night, because I had this internal fear. And I think it was having to do with the trauma, but what's funny is the next morning I woke up and one of the tires on my Wrangler was absolutely flat and on the rim, and I was 25-30 miles up a dirt road from the nearest town. So it's not exactly a situation that you want to be in with a completely flat tire on the rim. And there's a quote, and it's from Frank Herbert's Dune, and it's, "Fear is the mind killer." And that is such a true quote. If something makes you scared or nervous, it's probably better than anything to just kind of conquer that fear in a way. Just like I didn't have any fears about coming up here and doing this, but like now that I'm here doing it, like I sat and just kind of listened to the silence for the last, I don't know, probably 2 hours now. I don't even know what time it is. We're at about, actually an hour, not 2 hours. And I just kind of listened to the silence, and I had to cope with those things in my own head a little bit, and listen to my own thoughts, and convince myself that I can overcome that fear. And I think that's super important in many ways. I had to take a breather there just for a second. I hadn't expected to open Campfire chats with that. But I'm the type of person that tends to just kind of speak my mind. So I'm not surprised that
I started there. But I just had to take a moment and just look up at the stars, because out here there's so much less light pollution, and you can see so many stars, and it really makes me wonder how many stars were seen in the days before electric light, or even before there were cities or large towns. And what mysteries did the sky hold? Like right now I could see probably like 5 or 6 different satellites just looking in one direction, watching them all go in different directions. Our world is beyond beautiful. And I'm hoping that I can show more people that, and introduce more people to kind of the little things in life. Because we always say that the little things matter more than anything. The little things are the most important. They tend to get overlooked by big things, especially even nowadays. Who has the nicest car? Who has the nicest stuff? But that stuff doesn't make you who you are. I think knowledge is probably the most important thing that you could have. It's like the later it gets and the darker it gets, the more stars I'm seeing. Tomorrow night I'll make sure to collect more firewood. I kind of got to my camping spot only about 45 minutes before it got dark. So I only had so much time to collect some. Tomorrow I'll collect more. Didn't expect to be up too late tonight anyways. I was kind of up and at work. I got up at about 5:40 this morning. Went to work for most of the day. And a good amount of driving to then get here after work. I think I drove about 3 hours in total. That's not including the times I stopped off to fish either. I'll probably just continue the campfire chat tomorrow night. I like the idea of that. As time goes on and I'm up here, I'll be able to think more and more clearly. So thank you for watching. If you could take the time to subscribe and give this video a like. I'm back on a grind to try to provide some great outdoor content for you guys and bring conversation and real life experiences back to the table.